How's it going, everyone? My name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group and RetireSharp.com. Today's topic, I want to discuss with you a lump sum pension payout before retirement and go over exactly, what are some options if you're receiving a lump sum buyout instead of receiving an income stream. If basically your employer is coming to you and saying, hey, we have this nice shiny object of a nice large lump sum that you could invest your dollars going forward, or does it make more mathematical sense to go with an income payout stream as opposed to going with a lump sum pension buyout? So I want to go over kind of why a lot of companies are starting to go with this pension buyout, this pension payout, and what are some common mistakes to avoid? What are some positives towards this? How you can leverage those chips the correct way if you do choose that option, and kind of go from there. So let's get started. So back in the day, in the 1970s, you had retirement planning was very simple. An individual would work for a company. They would work X amount of years of service, 20, 30, 40 years. And after that person put in X amount of years, you have the employer, the actual institution that they're working for, would designate a set dollar amount as an income stream for that individual. So if, let's say, a person starts working and they're 25 years old and they have to give in 30 years of service, well, then they understand at age 55, they're now eligible for their retirement income known as a pension stream or a pension plan. So it was the combination of pensions and Social Security income that an individual could leverage as retirement supplements, as retirement income, and then suffice whatever their expenses were throughout their retirement, so that they never had to worry about the stock market, they never had to worry about investing their dollars properly, and they were able to just receive that income stream for themselves, or them and their spouse receive the Social Security income for themselves, maybe the Social Security income for their spouse, and basically leverage those two components, those income sources, for a confident retirement. Now, there was obviously a shift that was made with the retirement landscape. And that shift I'm talking about is something known as ERISA. There's a branch of the government known as ERISA. And what they said was they understand that when companies are offering pension plans or offering guaranteed retirement income streams for their employees, well, that's a large risk to the actual company. If they invest those dollars on the back end and then they're providing lifetime income, and let's say you have a bunch of employees that are now living into their 80s, their 90s, their hundreds, and they would need to make sure that these companies are sustaining that growth properly. So what you did was you had a branch of the government come out known as ERISA to alleviate that pressure from individual corporations, from those entities, to say, you know what, rather than have the company, the employer, take on all that retirement risk and decide how to invest that properly, what we're going to do is throw that risk on the employee. So what they did was they made individual retirement plans available for all Americans. So this was established back in 1974. In 1978, you had the implementation of 401k plans that got started that says, okay, a company is going to try to retain a good employee by giving them the offer of a 401k plan, allowing that employee to contribute into their retirement account, and an extra incentive for that employee to stay with that company, rather than completely giving them that incentive of giving them a retirement income later on. What they could do is match any dollar that they're placing into their retirement bucket, into that 401k plan. So what it's known as is a pension plan is known as a defined contribution, is known as a defined benefit plan, because literally this person is working for the company for X amount of years of service, and then that company is defining what the benefit is. That's their qualified employer-sponsored retirement plan. With the 401k plan, this is known as a defined contribution plan, which says that they're not going to define what the benefit is. All they're saying is that they could define what the match is on their, on this employee's contribution, or now the employee has to contribute their own monies into their own retirement and try to choose their investments wisely. So I really want you to understand that difference, because there was a shift that was taken regarding growth of the market, growth of the stock market, growth of all these different accounts, and then when you still have individuals that are offered pension plans, why they were trying to offer you this pension payout, and how you could actually leverage that pension payout if you do not want to just receive the lifetime retirement income stream like traditional pensions, used to give or do give. So one of the metrics that individuals try to use to determine how well the stock market is doing is known as the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And what this shows you is a chart, and this is based on Yahoo Finance, is a chart of how much that the Dow Jones Industrial Average has risen throughout the length of time. And so with the different things that I was telling you about, as I said, well, before in the past, you used to have companies, entities, employers that used to invest their retirement dollars for their employees and then provide a lifetime income stream for them later on through the form of a pension. When we had the implementation of ERISA in 1974, which therefore added Section 401k to the Internal Revenue Code in 1978, what do you now have happening? Well, now you have 401k being the primary plan. And what happened from 1978, 1979, you notice that from 1980 through 1999, you had over a 1,270% growth into the market. So what that's saying is that the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained over 1,000% within that 19-year time frame, which is more than double everything that happened in these previous 90 years. So it goes to, it makes you think, how exactly did this happen? Does it just so happen that, okay, the market was booming and there was nothing attributed to it, or they're actually writing on the wall? And the writing on the wall is you now had all individuals that were buying into the market because they now had to invest their dollars, their 401k, their retirement savings. They were not offered those pension plans anymore, and therefore had to throw it into the market from that 1980 through 1999. So you had the baby boomer generation that was doing it's the largest population of individuals, of Americans, were dumping those monies into the market. Well, since that point in time, you've now seen some volatility with the market, and it's due to the fact that now these individuals have to start pulling money out of the market. They have to start selling out of the market, and therefore you have less demand into the market, and that's why you're seeing this volatile shift. There's not as much contributions going in there. And if you had like the echo boomers of the Generation Y, the millennials, that were saving enough dollars to offset the distributions coming out, well, then that could at least make things accurate. The problem is individuals are not saving at the rate that they used to, because there's a couple of reasons for that. You have massive debt and different things like that, but ultimately there is a shift that is occurring. And when we're looking at taking a lump sum pension buyout, you have to understand why that shift is important, how to make sure that you're covering your butt the correct way, or whether it makes more mathematical sense to just choose that pension payout option. So to reiterate that chart, the reason why from 2000 going forward, you now have the normal rates of return in there, or you at least now have the volatility in there, was because you have these baby boomers that are hitting that retirement age. So when they need to retire and they need to take distributions from their accounts to live off of retirement income, they are literally selling out of the market. They are selling off their shares and liquidating those monies, throwing it into cash, and then basically living off of that cash. So they're pulling those monies out of the market, and therefore you don't have enough that's sustaining enough contributions going into the market, and that's what's causing this volatility on top of economic deficit, on top of interest rates at all-time lows. There's a couple of different factors in there, a couple of different features in there. So these employers, they're not stupid. They understand that, okay, for the individuals that they've already set up pension plans for, that they've done, 20, 30 years ago, that now they have to start adding, anting up. They have to start, paying out what those, what that dollar amount, that monthly dollar amount is agreed to the individual. Well, you have the volatility that's in the market. So therefore, they have to make sure that they're having consistent investments that are going to sustain these individuals living. The second aspect is you also have technological advances that are showing people live much longer. When you used to have mortality tables, individuals living to 70, 80 years old, that wasn't that big of a problem. Now you have to expand your actuarial data with something that's not increasing the markets as well as it once did. So it's now individuals are living to age 90, 91, 95, living past the age of 100. So if you have employers that are guaranteeing income streams for the rest of that person's life, that could be a very large liability on their books. And that's why you're starting to see, first off, companies not offer pension plans at all. And then second off, the ones that are offering pension plans, they're trying to give these lump sum buyouts and try to give you this nice shiny number to say, okay, we don't want to have this risk on our book, so we're going to give you $1 million payout, an $800,000 payout, and therefore now it's on you. You're signing over the rights to say that you're going to cancel off your income stream, and now you could receive this in the form of a lump sum. Why is that important, and how can you leverage that to your advantage, or whether, does it not make sense to leverage that to your advantage? And this is going to coincide with a couple of my other videos. What I say is there's three main things, the three most important things for an individual nearing retirement or currently retired on how to stay retired forever, is they have to make sure that three different factors are accomplished. The very first thing is income sources. What this means is you want to make sure that you're receiving lifetime income sources that are going to suffice what your expenses are. So if somebody goes and they have, $50,000 of annual expenses, and this person is receiving Social Security income of $30,000, they're receiving pension income of another $30,000, and maybe they also are, receiving rental income, of another $20,000. Well, their income sources are covered. They could essentially live throughout their retirement and never have to dip into their 401k accounts, their other retirement accounts, cash accounts, anything like that, because they have far more than enough income. This shows $80,000 of income coming in with only a $50,000 need. So therefore, that income source is checked. They're receiving that retirement paycheck every single month, and they don't have to go back to work. They could go and enjoy traveling and visiting their grandchildren and fishing or whatever that case may be. The second aspect is they want to also make sure that they have ample amount of emergency funds. So income sources are very good. That's the ultimate goal. But what we try to do is mathematically show individuals how to make sure that you're squeezing the most amount of leverage with the smallest amount of dollars possible. So you could leverage certain accounts to, let's say, if you have that same $50,000 example, you're not offered a pension plan, you have some money in 401k, or you decided to take the pension payout, and now you have these lump sum dollars. We show you ways on how to extract those monies to, let's say, your Social Security income that year is, or in retirement is $30,000, but you have a $20,000 gap to suffice your expenses. We show you ways on how to make sure that you're utilizing those dollars. So, if you have an $800,000 bucket of a 401k, maybe it's only going to require $200,000 to do certain planning to receive that $20,000 of lifetime income, and therefore now you get to keep $600,000 in liquid cash on the sidelines to invest to however you deem fit. So emergency funds, rule of thumb is that you want to keep in between 6 to 12 months of emergency funds handy to say in case of an oh my gosh moment, in case of, a tree comes, falls through your house, in case you need to buy a car, in case you have a medical emergency, whatever that is, those are extra expenses that you don't want to have locked up into accounts that you cannot access. So that's why we're saying, out of this, when someone chooses a lump sum, it makes sense to go and put aside, in this example, $50,000. You might want to leave $50,000 into like a liquid IRA money market account, just something that's not going to have gains, but something you could touch at all times. Or if you have cash accounts, make sure that you have enough cash accounts, enough in reserves, so you do not have to mess with the rest of your plan. The third aspect is inflationary protection. What that says is that your expenses, some of your expenses are going to be fixed in a given year. Some of your expenses are going to be tied to inflationary increases, such as, food, clothing, gas, everyday living expenses. So when we have this example that, let's say we have an individual that wants to retire at age 65 and their expenses are $50,000, well, maybe by age 67, their expenses might rise to $52,000. They might rise at age 71 to $55,000. So how exactly can we combat that inflationary need, combat that purchasing power risk, to make sure that you're having nice lifetime income streams and they're stepping up at certain intervals that suffice what your income goal is, what your expense goal is. So what exactly are some things that you could do if you want to take that lump sum pension payout option? And how do you coordinate it, or how do you correlate that to the three main criteria for a confident retirement? Well, let's say that somebody was offered $1 million pension payout and they have specific expenses in a given year of $60,000. So then when we're asking them the questions and we figure out what their situation is, they say, okay, well, their only retirement savings are $1 million, and they might have another $100,000 sitting in regular cash accounts, whatever that case may be. So when we're looking at income sources, we're saying, okay, well, let's say that this person's age 65 and they want to trigger Social Security income at that time. Their need is $60,000, and Social Security income at age 65 is going to be $30,000. So what this tells us is that we could take a portion of this $1 million, place it into specifically designed contracts, whether that's IRA contracts that you're investing a specific way and you're pulling out monies that's a little bit more risky, or you can go and take portions of these dollars and put it into an IRA annuity contract to suffice that $30,000 need. So maybe if the need is the extra $30,000 that make up that 60 grand for your expense need, maybe it's only going to require, 400,000 of a rollover or a transfer from your IRA pension payout into an IRA annuity contract that will get triggered of lifetime income for $30,000 for the rest of your life, for the rest of your spouse's life. What that tells us is now we have $600,000 left over in retirement assets and IRA monies, and we have $100,000 left over in cash. So if this person has $60,000 of expenses in a given year, maybe our emergency funds, we could just leave the $100,000 in liquid cash, maybe take $60,000, leave that in liquid cash, invest the other $40,000 properly so that they're at least, gaining monies while making sure that their first two bases are covered. The third aspect is inflationary risk, and this is something that now you have 600,000 plus, an extra 40,000, about 640 that you can invest a specific way that says, okay, when inflation increases and the cost of goods and services increase, well, now I could siphon monies, a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there from that account every couple of months, every month or so, every couple of years to suffice what that inflationary need is. So that is a primary example on why somebody might want to leverage a lump sum pension buyout is you could now control your chips a little bit better, still suffice what your personal expenses are, suffice your income needs, suffice your emergency goal need, and suffice your inflationary need, and still have thousands upon thousands of dollars of liquid money, of money left over that you can now invest freely and don't have to worry about, downward market losses or different things that could completely liquidate and completely be a lifestyle change for your retirement account. We want to make sure that all those lanes are segmented the proper way. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense to take the lump sum pension option, and it makes more sense to just trigger your monthly income. Because let's say if your need is $60,000 and you're receiving Social Security income of $30,000 and that pension income stream was going to be for another $60,000, well then that company is paying you $60,000 every single year, or even something as crazy as $100,000 for just really easy math. They're paying you an extra $100,000 per year of pension income that you would have burnt through that $1 million in 10 years by having that same sort of benefit. So when you have extreme cases where your pension payout and payment every single month is very, very high, is much higher than what your expenses are, sometimes it makes a lot more sense to just not even take that lump sum, that nice shiny object, and to just trigger your income streams, because that's going to still suffice your income sources. It's still going to leave you with emergency funds, and sometimes these pension plans also have increasing COLAs, inflationary protection already built in there. So the most important aspect is to say, how can you tackle those three main criteria successfully for a confident retirement? If it makes more mathematical sense to do it by just triggering your pension stream, do it that way, your pension income stream, and not taking out the lump sum, do it that way. If it makes more sense to take the lump sum and you want to diversify that into specific lanes and make sure that you're triggering income into certain angles and having a bunch of money left over, that's where a lump sum pension buyout or pension payout will make sense. So I hope you found value in this video. At any point in time that you want to speak to a specialist, give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also have a new feature on our website. It's a calendar feature where you could set up a specialist for a more designated concrete time. So you would just, when calling into the agency, you would just tell them, hey, I saw a video on lump sum pension payout before retirement. I want to speak to a specialist about this a little bit further, and we're going to help you. We're going to ask you a whole slew of questions to try to help understand what your situation is and then educate you the best possible way. Maybe that makes sense to go and do some rollovers and make sure that you're targeting your income need or your retirement need a specific way, or it might just be something as simple as saying, they're giving you such a nice pension payout, such a nice pension, a monthly income stream for both you and your spouse. it doesn't make sense to go and take that lump sum money. They're trying to do that as a trick for you to take the nice shiny object, and you're going to end up hurting yourself in the process. So we want to make sure that we're non-biased with all of our information. We work on a national basis. We're A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau. We've always had very good reviews. We've never had any complaints. I believe it's because of our methodical process to educate individuals through literature pieces and personalized videos. If you want to have more of a concrete time, like I mentioned before, simply go to our website. It is afossefinancial.com, or you could type in retiresharp.com, and it's going to take you to the same place. And what you're going to see is this little icon on the bottom right is going to pop up, and it's going to allow you to schedule your appointment based upon what our availability is with the specialist, and you just kind of put your notes and all of that so that you could lock in your time spot, and we'll be awaiting your you're booking your appointment through your calendar, through our online calendar, or just give us a call at any time, and we'll be sure that someone could help out your exact situation. I want to thank you very much for watching this video, and please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel Retire Sharp so you have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.